UKLC is presented by Barclays and Curry's PC World.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to day number 2 of the UK League Championship. My name is Jake Hitbrain Matthews, and I'm joined by Dan Orcs Harrison. Dan, we had a great day 1. No real upsets so far, but let's have a look at what happened yesterday. What teams impressed you so far?
So I think there was a range. I mean, a couple of them we kind of expected. I think London were coming into the situation strong, as were Enclave. But for me, the biggest sort of impression put on me was M&M. I think M&M weren't seen as one of the top teams coming into this in the UKLC, and they had a really solid draft. Although it was a bit of a slower paced game, they set up their AD carry to just completely deliver and had a pretty convincing victory.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I do believe we have the standings ready, so I'll have a little look at everything that went down yesterday. You can see where all our teams here in the UKLC have fallen so far. Demise, Enclave, London, and M&M all got a win under their belt, while Nvision, Barrage, Munster, and Bulldog all unfortunately have lost their first game. But like I said, it's only day 1, so there's still a lot more to go. And yesterday I was hitting on day 2 is where we start to really kind of get an idea of where the chips fall and where the kind of power starts to pull ahead. Now, obviously, London do look like some of the favorites. So, are there any teams that may be causing you a little bit of worry, but maybe they need to try and pick it up, or is it just not enough to go off yet?
Not enough really to go off. I think day 2 is where it decides it. Going 1-1 in the first week isn't an issue at all. It sort of depends on standings. But in a situation where you go 0-2, that's very different. And also, it can sort of set a mentality almost if you don't get a win on your first week. I'm looking in particularly, there's a matchup today between Munster Rugby Gaming Academy and Barrage Academy. Both of these two organizations have had a little bit of smack talk going on social media. So pretty exciting to see the outcome of this one. A lot of it just for the pride on the line. But also, I think Enclave against M&M will be a real sort of storyteller, because a lot of people have Enclave just on paper. Their roster does look like it's up there in the top 2. But M&M really exceeded expectations yesterday. And I think if they can repeat that against Enclave, they'll be a serious contender for the whole thing.
Yeah, you did just see the lineup of the games you got coming up. In case you didn't have time to read that out, today we have ourselves Demise versus Nvision as our first game of the day. Then Barrage versus Enclave, London versus Munster, and we round the day out with M&M taking on Bulldog. Oh, that was yesterday. I'm completely stupid. The first game of the day is Nvision versus London, as you can see on your screen. Then it's Bulldog, Demise, Munster, Barrage, Enclave versus M&M. Now, let's talk a little bit about this first matchup here. Nvision versus London Orcs. London, obviously, just a very, very stacked roster. They proved yesterday why they're one of the favorites in the UKLC with a dominant game. Now they're going up versus Nvision. Nvision do not have a win under their belt. They lost yesterday to Demise. What do they need to do to pull a win out here versus London?
I think it's a difficult ask, in all honesty. I think they showed some issues in their first game. There was definitely moments where they chose to contest objectives that they didn't need to, and it ended up backfiring quite heavily. I think that's going to be hard here, because London saw the team where they don't give you really any space to breathe, and it is going to make things a little bit tricky. And ultimately, Nvision have had a hard sort of standings with the first game going down to Demise and now facing London. I think more than anything, even if they don't get the win, it's about just showing what you can do. I think there is some talent on this roster. And I know, well, I've heard that, for example, BB Muffin has been doing practice matchups with Kamara, the mid laner for London, and actually doing pretty successfully. So I think the individual raw talent's there. The thing that really just overwhelmingly puts London ahead is just the coordination as a team. So I think for me, I'd personally prefer to see a sort of performance from Nvision where they come out all guns blazing. They definitely played a slower composition yesterday, and it kind of just meant they fell behind and they never really got back into it. I think start off aggressively, challenge London, even if you can't close the whole thing out, even if you're unsuccessful, at least you give it a try and you learn what sticks and what makes a good attempt. And in honesty, you may catch them off guard, because as much as we praise this London lineup, they are not infallible. In the qualifiers, they ended up dropping a game, which actually nearly got them close to being not even making it in the league and getting dropped out of qualifiers. So definitely not an invincible team, and it's just about seeing what makes them crack.
It's about hitting away at that armor until eventually it does break, and we'll have to see whether or not Nvision are going to be the team to do that. Now, before we get going with our first game of the day, before we get into Champ Select, we are going to go to a quick break, and we'll be back with our first matchup of the day. It will be Nvision taking on London. Oh, no. Okay, don't worry.
Oh,
I was
set that all up.
ill-informed there.
All
I
the
was
suspense.
ill-informed there.
All the
Well, all
suspense,
right,
all the
let's
tension.
talk a little bit about this bot lane then, while we got some
Okay.
time to fill, because Raisin's had an insane first day. He was playing the Fresh, if I believe, right? Yeah, he was on the Fresh, and he was just playing insanely well. He had Golden God on Misfortune. Spark and Nash, what are we looking at with these two?
They obviously had a little bit of a rough matchup. I feel like they didn't have the greatest time with the bot lane up against Demise. Definitely they put in some effort, and it felt like there was some moments that had some momentum, but it just wasn't a consistent thing throughout the game. And eventually it got to the point where they just couldn't really handle them, because ultimately they went for their MF and the Lulu. And as much as that gives you a lot of lane priority, it's punishable, and you saw there were situations where they did just end up getting punished by the enemy team. I think for me, I'm expecting to see a situation where hopefully Spark and Nash can bring out a bit more aggression in the laning phase. I think have a better pairing between your bot lane champions. I don't think Lulu MF is a good lane as a duo. I think there are several good lanes in the current meta. I think Ezreal Yuumi is one of the strongest, but obviously does offer a weak laning phase for a big payoff later. I think Varus with basically anything is powerful. And then you have the likes of Philios Lulu. And then after that, it sort of goes down to, you know, the likes of your Senep combinations, and then you have things like MF and other champions picking up the rear. I think for me, it's ultimately a situation where you want to make sure that the champions work in tandem. I know why they went to Lulu. It's to deny it away from working with your Philios, but it really just ended up not working out too well for them.
All right, now we are ready to go to the break. So we're going to cut to a quick break and we'll be back with our first matchup of the day. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a second. Hello and welcome back to the UK League Championship. We're just about to jump into Chap Select for our first matchup of the day. It is Nvision versus London. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about was over in the LEC, we saw a lot more priority on the flex set. A bit of him in the jungle, a bit of him top, bit of him support. We didn't actually see much real kind of like all that emphasis on the set yesterday. Rifty did play it, but I think that was the only game we saw of set yesterday. We are now into picks and bans, so we'll see whether or not that pops up, but the Ezreal is going to be the first ban here.
Yeah, not too surprising. It's not something we've seen frequently banned in the first rotation, but there's a lot of power, particularly the introduction of Death's Dance as a sort of great defensive item with the extra resistance it gives. You essentially become a tank Ezreal who's extremely difficult to kill with his mobility as well. And talking about the set, I feel like although we didn't see that much set, he was banned quite frequently. I think that pick still is having quite a bit of priority in the league. It's just not often being let open with how powerful it is, because Rifty, as we saw, had an amazing performance on that champion.
Yeah, pretty much a game-defining performance, actually, with the flank ultimates. Now, running through the bans, the Diana is going to be denied there from Chimera, the Varus from Spark, but again, Varus is pretty much an expected ban. Speaking of expected bans, the Graves is getting removed. Warden does like that, but doesn't want to give it over as a first pick here. And now we're looking at the final ban from the side of Nvision. What do they want to pick up? What do they want to take away?
It's pretty difficult to call because Ezreal and Diana aren't really these bans that are at the forefront. Diana in particular is something that typically Chimera does play, but it's not a frequent first rotation ban. We're still seeing a lot of things open, like the Ornn, the Syndra, the Trundle just got banned away, but the Ornn and the Syndra are still up and available. Aphelios still an option in this situation, and it feels like Nvision going this strategy has left a lot of picks up and available. Now they do take the Aphelios, and the question is going to be what's the London answer with, because the Ezreal Yuumi isn't an option. The Varus isn't an option. So by all means, Nvision have kind of got the remaining top tier bot lane if they can secure that Lulu. In essence, Aphelios still functions without the Lulu, but the question is, what are London going to do to challenge it? MF definitely works.
They could just go MF fresh again. That was what we saw them do yesterday. They had insane success on that pick. The Misfortune will get picked up for Golden God here. And now, do they want to get their support? Deny the fresh from the side of Nash, because fresh Aphelios is a really hard lane to deal with. You've got a bit of pick, you've got a bit of safety combined in there with the Lantern. We'll have to see if they want to put their priority on that or if they want to look towards a different lane. So it looks like with the Ornn open, Bearshu wants to get his hands onto that. Set is open though, so Evan could just pick Set and go to brawl him in the top lane.
Critically, though, in this situation, the Trundle is unavailable. So something that is extremely effective against Ornn in terms of draining those stats isn't really an option. And essentially, this is a call out because London know it's very unlikely that Nvision will take Braum here because they want to prioritize this Lulu Aphelios. And so the end result is they know the Ornn is going to get that value. You got two really powerful team fighting tools here on London, which could be an answer to the strong bot lane from Nvision already. The only thing I'm interested in is what they use to round out the bot lane for Raisins. Probably going to be the Thresh. I expect to come through on that third pick. We'll have to see. For now, Nvision have a range of options. That's Set. Likely, if they want to match up in the top lane, it works as a flex, or they can look towards the jungle, and looks like it's what they're going to do. I think giving themselves the early pressure is important when you are playing a scaling bot lane like this, and also the Lulu syncs really well with the Olaf, because obviously when he gets slow HP, he gets that extra healing, extra attack speed. As long as you can keep him alive at those low levels, you can get a huge amount of impact in those skirmishes.
All right, well, over to London. Do they want to pick up the fresh and then just ban away top laners and have their jungle pool thinned? Or do they want to get a jungler here? They do lock in that Jarvan. Does mean that they can thin out that top lane pool if they want to. But for the side of Nvision, they can ban away the fresh. They can ban away any support they don't want to be dealing with. We'll have to see where the attention goes, because there are still fair few mid laners open as well. So if Chimera wants to ban the likes of that Victor we saw from BB Muffin away, that is also an option to him.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised to see the set come out. Could even see a Yasuo ban, because I know that Evan does like to play that in the top lane and the wind wall can be problematic. But looks like instead they're just going to focus down the mid lane, more concerned about what BB Muffin could bring out, and potentially suggesting that Chimera might end up prioritizing this mid lane pick as a last pick, and he doesn't want to face these difficult blinds like the Zoe. Thresh, unsurprised to see this banned away. We expected it from Raisins. There's still options. The Nautilus is a big pick for him. Potentially Leona you could lean towards if you want to keep applying pressure in this lane. The Karma, also an option, again, if you want to have that lane priority and put down the hit.
Well, the Wukong is going to get banned away from Evan. They don't want something that's going to really bully around Bear Tree. But like we're saying, that set is still open. It is still an option to him if he wants. Or he could go for the neutral lane and look for the team fights, picking something like a Maokai. We saw the Ornn versus Maokai yesterday, where it was just about being the tank, being the front line. I have to see if they want to pick that up as Chimera's or Ana gets banned away. Question to me is, where do they want to pick? They're probably going to pick their supports up and give a counter pick over to Chimera in this mid lane.
Malzahar would be interesting if it comes in. I feel like, as you said, the support makes more sense to pick up here because you have an opportunity to counter BB Muffin. But the Orianna being banned away means Chimera is limited in those safe lines and has opted to go for this one. So a lot of utility in terms of being able to apply that CC. The silence is a big aspect as well, although it looks like had a little bit of an issue there. So potentially up until the Malzahar, everything will stay the same. Malzahar may be subject to change depending on what happened there. But
looks like we had a bit of a client bug there. Yeah.
Right, so
gonna find out exactly what that was, but I'm fairly certain the Malzahar wasn't a Malzahar.
Yeah, so personally for me, I feel like the last pick mid would have made more sense. You know what you're facing up in the bot lane. It's unlikely to flex the Lulu, and so as a result, you can easily just sort of pick something to counter in that situation. You can pick a support up there. The Nautilus was available still for Raisins, and he's really powerful in that pick. So I would personally liked maybe the Nautilus in that rotation. And then as a final pickup, you have your options from the likes of Azir, the likes of Corki, potentially something else if you wanted to play more aggressive like the LeBlanc. It gives you those tools.
All right, well, we'll try and rattle through these picks and bans nice and quick. We are back in, so hopefully we'll bring that up and we can see how everything is going to go down. But for the most part, I'm curious to see what they want to pick up as their support and their mid laner. I haven't had confirmation whether or not that Malzahar was an accidental pick or not. So we're finding out. But we'll be able to get onto that fairly quick.
Yeah, and then talking about what could potentially be picked up by Nvision, the set is a big option that's been left open and available. I know that BB Muffin does like to take the Victor in a lot of situations when he's playing up against those safe mages like the Azir, like the Orianna. I'm not sure this is a situation for it, though, unless it is Chimera blind picking his mid, because I feel like Victor works well when you know the matchup, when you know it's something pretty safe and that you can deal with. It's completely fine because you have the wave clears, you have the scaling ability, and that's where Victor really shines. That's why he sort of had a little bit of a resurgence, and I know BB Muffin is a big advocate for it in this current meta, but ultimately, if you don't know the matchup, you end up playing Victor into something that can pressure you, something like the LeBlanc that has such great gank setup. It can be extremely difficult.
Hopefully we can bring up the pick champs alerts because it is rattling out. Don't worry, we are currently watching it on our end, so hopefully you guys at home can see. We haven't got beyond to that Malzahar bit. We're into ban phase 2 as we speak. Everything else has been mirrored and exactly the same as it was prior. So they're making their last few bans, and now we'll be finding out whether or not it is actually the Malzahar in the bot lane or not, as we are onto that pick. Here we go. What do you think, Hawks? I just feel like a support is a better pick here. And yeah, that is the option. They go for the Nautilus. So there's a lot of kind of team fight potential now. If you look at the London roster, you've got the Hook, the CC from the Nautilus in general. You've got Warden on this Jarvan. You got Bear Tree on the Ornn. You obviously got the big ultimate coming out from Golden God on this Misfortune. And now, what do they want to add to that? What do you think completes this comp? What is Chimera going for?
I think from Vision, you go the set. And then for BB Muffin, Victor's not a viable pickup here because of the fact that there's Jarvan or Nautilus against you. Potentially something like the Corki could be pretty solid here. It has a decent matchup when going up against the likes of the Azir, so it can do that. It looks like they're potentially toying with the idea for flex here. But in honesty, if you're going to flex a support here, it should be Braum to deny the Ornn and also add that level of defense. But looks like they're going to go for the Rakan. So they're either flexing the Rakan or they're flexing the Lulu. Personally,
I feel like a Lulu flex.
Not a huge fan of this.
No. All right, we'll be rounding us out here for Raisins. Well, for Chimera in the mid lane. What does he want to go for? It's the El Clasico for him. All right, so when Chimera debuted in the UK scene, he whipped out this Anivia and he had a sick game. Lulu's not really going to pressure him on this Anivia, so I'm really excited to see him get his hands back on the Cryo Phoenix on this Anivia. This is exciting.
It seems like a really rough matchup actually for the Lulu because you just get outranged so hard by the Anivia. All she has to do is land a good wall into stun and she can essentially combo you so heavily. And if you die in the CC, you don't get a chance to even use your shield or your ultimate. So a little bit concerned about this decision making here. I guess they're concerned about the bot lane matchup. But for me, if you're going to pick a support in this situation, if you're going to flex a Lulu, then why not the Braum? The Braum answers the Ornn. He's no longer able to ult because you can block it. Yep. Against the Nautilus, it's a decent matchup because if they do try and engage, you can obviously use your Unbreakable to block the damage from the Misfortune. That stun passive also makes it difficult to get him out. For me personally, that would be my pickup in this situation. Now, they may have had a different thought process right now, but I feel like if you're going to make a bigger move as this, if you're going to potentially jeopardize BB Muffing in the mid lane, then it's a little bit off for me. Yeah. Personally, I think the two options for me would take something like the Braum in the bot lane, or take something like Corki in the mid lane, something that has a safe laning phase. With Orianna off the cards, the other mid lane mage that scale as well as the Azir, you have a good matchup into that. And then as well with the Anivia, if she does wall you, you can Valkyrie away from it. If she and you just outrange you in the trading. So I think that would have been my ideal draft, but obviously Nvision have a different idea out of it, and the answer coming out from London is pretty expected. It's nice to see the throwback of the Anivia, which Chimera's had a lot of success on.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm fairly certain Rakan gets kind of stomped by Nautilus, because obviously he jumps in and Nautilus can just instantly CC him. Or am I completely off base on that?
It's not the worst matchup, but it's also, there's the potential to really just lock them down. Your mobility is enough to sort of play around that. There are worse matchups, like Leona is particularly a bad one, because you can just very easily stun him. If you do lash onto him with the Zenith Blade, then even if he finishes his dash, you'll just follow him, which makes it rough. So for a lot of people, Leona's the worst matchup, but after some nerfs that came to her, and also the reduction of the effectiveness of going perfect timing into Stone Plate, which is what made her so powerful, not really seeing as much Leona. I think it really comes down to a bit more of a skill matchup now with the Nautilus, because it's sort of playing around his CC and avoiding it. But ultimately, one of the big issues is that you kind of don't want them landing CC on either target, because you'll see the Rakan get tied up, you'll see him get sort of beaten up. But if you're not the one eating the hook and it connects onto the Aphelios, it's equally a pretty bad situation, especially as one of the big things for me with Rakan into Misfortune is Misfortune's actually got enough movement speed just to run outside of your grand entrance. Because, you know, she has so much movement speed from the Strut passive, it's very hard to actually land that consistently without the ultimate first. So for me, that's a lot of the reasons why I feel like the pick wasn't ideal for me.
Yeah, and there are a few technical issues, unfortunately, guys. So we will just have to have a little bit more of a yap before we get going into this game. I feel for Nvision, though, there is a very kind of clear win condition. They're playing around Spark. They've got, you know, the engage of Evan and Nash. They've got obviously Alex, who will be a constant threat to Golden God. If Golden God stands still to ult and he gets flanked by Alex, he's going to be in a really, really rough situation. And then with the Lulu and the Aphelios, there is the kind of hyper carry potential. I am just concerned from the amount of CC. Obviously, you've got the Olaf. But the amount of CC on everyone else is just such a threat for me, really. That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, and we do have the standings in front of us. So once again, we can look at how the day starts. And obviously, London want to continue their streak at the 2-0, but it'd be a big hit for Nvision not to get the win on this entire first week. And I think Demise was a roster that potentially there were some expectations they could challenge. I think London is the harder matchup. I think it will be for a lot of teams, but even so, I think there's hope and potential. I think the critical element in this game is you're going to be looking at this Aphelios in the later stages. For anyone who is tuning into the LEC over the weekend, you'll have seen that game where Inax managed to get the 1v4 on the champion, and that was when the Lulu wasn't even there. And I think it just sort of shows how strong this champion is in terms of the raw damage and the raw survivability once you build some lifesteal. And then on top of that, I think you can look at the side of London and they have clearly gone, right, you first pick Aphelios, we have the Ornal, we have the Cataclysm, we have the Misfortune Bullet Time, and then we have the Nautilus CC, and they have really just gone, we're accepting you have the Aphelios, we think we have the tools to deal with it. And I think that's going to be the critical thing in this game. The early game will obviously be important to set the pace, but the question is going to be asked, can we see a situation where Spark is able to get some freedom on this champion, or is he just going to repeatedly get shut down by London?
We're seeing Chimera actually running the Unsealed Spellbook as well, so not going for like the Meteor, just the pure laning ability. The Unsealed Spellbook obviously offers a fair amount of safety because you can teleport back to lane, you can switch your summoner spells out, take that Ghost if you want, so you can navigate around fights in the late game a bit better. Obviously, you've got the Exhaust and other abilities for you, but Sounds to me like our issues are resolved and we are getting ready to take on To The Rift for our first game of day number 2 of the UKLC. It's Nvision versus London.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Level 1s can be instrumental, and I'm looking at the side of Nvision. They have an Olaf, pretty powerful. The Rakan as well, if you can get that knock up. So there is potential for them to look for something, potentially a late invade. But for now, both teams just going for that spread out start at the beginning. You can see Warden's gone for that trick. You place down a ward, you then recall, pick up the sweeper. So he does have a defensive ward around his Raptors. Maybe potentially sensing some shenanigans could come in.
But now, though, it just looks like the line of the scrimmage has been set up. No one really wants to go for anything too much here, and they're just going to chill. But Beatrice has to be a little careful, though. Alex and Evan, maybe fishing. See if they can find a Thunder God. Beatrice, none the wiser. So Alex will spot him out. Beatrice gets seen, but it's just searing charges to safety. They're aware of this invade going down, so we'll probably see Warden just go for a quick cross-map play.
He's going to start up on his Wolves, and it's what you like to see. I think that's a big thing with an Olaf. There's a lot of champions where it's sort of, yes, they're strong and competitive, and you see the higher tier teams pick them. But the reason is because of plays like this. If you're not invading early on Olaf, there's either a very good reason for it or you're making a mistake, because you can get so much value from denying the likes of this red buff, especially against a Jarvan who is so efficient at these level 2 ganks. Now, Warden isn't too perturbed by this. He's just going to cross over and take the red buff off Alex. I'm guessing this is going to be a situation Alex will expect this one, and it does put a bit more pressure on the bot lane of Spark and Nash, but ultimately it means that Alex has potential to play heavily around Evan in the top side, try and set this set up for success.
All right, well, maybe they look for an early gank here in this bot lane. They do obviously have the potential, the amount of CC available to them. Could be a little dangerous, though. So for the moment, looks like they're not going to go for that.
With Warden's mana level, I think it's just pretty unlikely. He's going to clear off the Krugs, go for a reset. And it looks like Alex's plan is to path down towards bot side as he clears his Gromp. And then he could head towards the Scuttle first, but he could clear down towards bot side and then go for the bot side Scuttle, because the wave was looking to be bouncing back. So if Spark and Nash want to push for some priority, they definitely could in this situation.
Well, if we actually take a little look at mid lane, you can see that BB Muffin at the moment is the one shoving the lane into Chimera. Chimera does have the minion dematerializer available to him.
Yeah, early levels, Lulu has a lot of power in the laning phase, and we saw a lot of changes over the course of the years of League of Legends to push her out of the solo lane position. One of the biggest ones was reducing the damage on the Glitter Lance after the first target, which obviously hit a wave clear, but she is still pretty heavily a lane bully in the early levels, and I don't think we'll see that significantly change until Chimera hits level 6, but at that point is where it gets really scary, because the 100 to 0 potential is there, especially if Warden can jump in and contribute to that, and right now he's potentially looking for something. The BB Muffin isn't willing to step up in this situation. The wave is going to push out towards him. There's no reason for him to step up. He just has to play it safe.
Yeah, looks like that will be the job for him. You can see there's an invade going down by Raisins as well into the red side. But now it looks like the moves are going to get made. BB Muffin has stepped up. Alex is waiting in the wings, and BB just leaning towards his jungler. Here we go. The flag and drag is flashed away. The hook misses. And BB Muffin played that very calm and collectedly.
Yeah, unfortunately, had to burn the flash there. Didn't want to overstay and risk if the flag and drag was going to hit. BB Muffin felt safe to step up to a degree because Alex was on the top side. Ultimately, the correct play probably would have been to lean more heavily towards the top side. If they do go for that play, you can just run up towards your jungler. You have enough movement speed thanks to the Whimsy, and you should just be able to get out fairly easily. So, unfortunate the flash was burnt there from BB Muffin, but overall doesn't go down. And that was a pretty big investment to bring the jungler and Raisins as well and spend quite a bit of time there to only get a flash. But the critical thing I'm going to be looking for is the return gank. So once Warden hits level 6, you're essentially going to be trapped in that Cataclysm. You have the sustained damage of the ultimate from Chimera at that point. That's where I'd like to see BB Muffin punished if London are playing to that flash that they burn.
Jungler spotted on a ward there. Warden doesn't have the flag and drag, so gank's not available for him for a little while anyway. Is able to clear out some of that vision. You can tell he's looking to try and make some early action break out. The ping goes down on the dragon, and he may just look to start up this Infernal Drake. Alex is on the other side of the map currently, so really probably won't come in for any kind of a contest. Looks like it just should be a free dragon over to London.
And this is sort of the cost when you go for those map splits. You do tend to lose a lot of priority on the side of the map that you're swapping away from. Does mean that Warden can just sort of play for this neutral objective on the bot side, and Alex is going to show up, but a little bit too late. It was actually good timing coming out from Warden. Obviously, a reset coming out from BB Muffin, afforded priority mid, but priority bot lane was actually in favor of Nvision there. Wasn't really a response to come in. I think the praise for me has to come out for those two control wards, sort of establishing an area around the mid lane. Makes it very difficult for Alex to sort of push through there. Also makes it difficult for BB Muffin to lean to that side. So just a good setup from London that rewards them with that dragon.
Now level 6 has been hit on Chimera. We saw when we glimpsed mid a minute ago how quickly he just starts to cut through these waves with the ultimate. So feels like the kind of prio that BB Muffin was able to get earlier on in the lane is all but going to evaporate at this point. Chimera's got his tier, got an extra Sapphire Crystal, so he is just stacking that mana to cut through these waves as quick as possible. Alex looking for an invade onto Warden here, has spotted him out. There is a wall available. Warden, though, going to get caught for the moment, has to flag and drag to safety, and Alex is just going to be gifted the wave. Meanwhile, Chimera, he's just chipping away at BB Muffin's health bar, doing oh so much damage to him. Almost finds himself the kill. Not going to flash for anything else as Nash was waiting about in the wings. As Warden now looking for Alex. They've got the backup of Raisins, though. They miss out on the flag and drag. And Nvision, they get away.
Nerves a steal there from BB Muffin to hold the ult in that situation, but more for an invade coming in here. Wooden Raisins have to be a little bit careful.
Yeah, Bedry is just getting bullied so hard in this top lane, so he's not going to be able to move over yet. So red buff stolen away by Alex. That's the ultimate for him, and now they're just pinging instantly towards this top side. I don't think Bedry has anywhere to go. He can steering charge, he can flash for that tower if he needs to, but he's already been slowed by one axe. Nash is going to tank the wave, and that's the end of Bedry. First blood over Alex.
Yeah, good moves there. Nash confident enough to hold up the grand entrance until he knew Bertie wasn't able to evade it. He held his flash to try and splash the CC, but couldn't, and Spark might actually be in trouble here.
Yeah, they're going to clear the wave with the ultimate. I don't know if that was the original incentive there, but BB Muffin teleports to make sure that nobody's going to die in this bot lane. Chimera is on the opposite side of the map, and they're just going to bully BB Muffin a little bit, but looks like this should just be at least a plate over to London in the bot side. They've already lost two top side. Evan is stomping Beartree right now. Look at the CS deficit. He's closing in on that Blade of the Ruined King, while Beartree got himself a Barmy Cinder and a Cloth Vest.
And you have to factor in the fact that we had this map split. So if you look at the opposite side, you're seeing Golden God with a 20 CS lead on Spark. You're seeing the Dragon advantage to London. But the counterpoint is this big discrepancy in the top lane. So this is the trade-off when you go for a split like that, is that you're sacrificing one side to benefit the other. Now, both of these sort of weak sides for these teams, the Aphelios will scale up monstrously. The Ornn will always be relevant when he gets tankier later in the game. The question's going to be, is Golden God going to offer enough to your team to sort of fight back compared to this set who's going to be so powerful in these team fights?
That is going to be the question as Alex gets his hands onto the Rift Herald. Nash and Alex have just been moving around in this two-man unit for a fair amount of time at this point. Teleport's coming in bot lane as they look for the dive onto BB Muffin. BB Muffin with the Wild Growth holds his life. I didn't see what interrupted that teleport, but something did. Golden God flashes aggressively forward to try and find the kill onto BB Muffin.
It was actually Beartree who managed to stop the teleport on Evan, and ultimately was a bit of an interesting situation. It feels like this bot lane is kind of bleeding out at this point for Nvision. There's no one who wants to be there. BB Muffin had difficulty, Spark had difficulty, and it's just more and more plates going over the side of London. They are still down in gold, though. Mostly due to the fact that there's some plates down in top lane and that first kill, but London definitely putting some pressure down here in this situation. I think a big source of that goal discrepancy as well is Alex in this game. So Alex in that first game of the season against Demise had a really strong early performance, and he's shown it again here. He's got a significant chest lead on Warden. He looks really strong. He's got the only kill in the game, and Olaf is one of these momentum champions where if you do fall behind, you end up becoming pretty useless, but when he's ahead, he can be an absolute monster, and all the CC on London isn't really going to have much effect against him because of that ultimate that just makes him unCCable.
Well, Lutan's going to go down as they clear the wave out. Actually, that's the quickness to follow. Gone looks to buy some space. The hook by Raisins, the teleport's coming out, and London maybe looking to turn this team fight around. Beartree instantly throws out the call of the forward squad. Gonna miss that knock-up, though, and BB Muffin's here with the wild growth. 4 members of Nvision waiting around as now London, they look to start up the Ocean Drake. Evan is coming in on the flank, though. Chimera looks to catch him out, gets a big old burst off to him. Caught out by the wall, throws out the ultimate to try and find some space. There's going to be the slow coming down with multiple members, but the flash is coming forward by Alex. He's running amok through the team with a wild growth. Finds himself the double kill. Is going to get stunned up instantly as the Moonlight Vigil comes down. That's a triple kill onto Alex, and he's going for more. He's got the Lulu in his back, but the slow is just way too much. The hook comes out by Raisins, and London are sent packing by Nvision.
And this Olaf with the Lulu paired up just becomes such a monster in these mid-game team fights. He's just unkillable, rushes through 5 members, and still manages to get out, and he's at full HP. It's pretty insane to see. They're going to throw down the Herald. I'm not a huge fan of this usage, but it's going to make this mid tower extremely low.
Turns out the Lulu was for the Olaf and not for the Aphelios.
I mean, that's the strength of having the Lulu mid. You have that extra levels, you have the extra gold put into that AP, and in particular having the Athenes already available, and you can use that in tandem with the Olaf, and it was just so powerful there. The farm lead he has, obviously amounting to having the Cinderhope already completed for that fight, and I think it's just showing that Alex on this roster for Nvision is really a shining light. He was in that game 1 that they unfortunately lost, but this game 2, they're looking like they might come out with this one if they keep it up at this rate.
And remember, this is one of the favorites. Everybody coming into this league plays London very high on the tier lists. A lot of talent on this roster, but like you were saying before this game started, Nvision has a lot of individual talent here. It's a matter of making that stick, making it work together. So far, it looks like some of that individual talent is starting to shine. 4-0 onto Alex at this point.
But someone else I've got to praise is Nash. So one of the things I always look for in support players is how well they pair up with their jungler. I think it's a really important skill. You see it really often in the high-up leagues where players will look to work in tandem to establish control on neutral objectives. And then when you go for ganks, instead of just a 1-man gank, it's a 2-man gank, which makes a world of difference. And Nash has been that in this game. He's got 4 assists on the board pairing up with Alex, and every single time he's been making a play around the map, he's been trying to be there to assist him with those plays. And I think it's a critical skill that needs to be praised. Oh,
Evan
did you just see?
Just smashing around, but actually, I have to hold that. Spark gets caught out by the Cataclysm, has to flash away, throws down the Moonlight Vigil and everything.
Did you see what Alex has bought?
Instant cleaver.
He literally
instant cleaver.
He had no components for it, and he just buys a full cleaver. That is scary, especially with the Lulu to back it up.
Oh,
Evan
speaking of scary, Beartree's in for a little bit of hurt here. Evan just finds a solo kill underneath the tower.
And if you've been watching the UK for a while, you'll remember Beartree's debut. He had some monstrous performances in the UKLC. Really strong performer in lane, and here he's getting dismantled by Evan.
Evan is absolutely crushing him here. Looks like they're going to trade tower for tower. Who wins this race? It is London. Pull ahead the 3 members. Just a bit quicker than Evan, who had done a fair amount of damage to that tower. But Vision have got the ability to shove in this mid lane if they want. Chimera's a bit of a ways away from getting to the tower, but they should be able to clear this out in time. Chimera does throw down the ultimate for the moment, and that is actually just going to be the tower giving up. Too many members rotate over. So it's a 2-for-1 globally on the tower trade in favor of Nvision. Now slingshots them 4,000 gold ahead.
Yeah, really smart move there, honestly, by Nvision. They saw them grouping up to go for the bot lane tower. The bot lane of Nvision back away. They want to play it safe. They get the top lane tower alone just from Evan. And then you see Alex, BB Muffin, and Nash. They lean towards mid. Chimera gets zoned away because he was walking bot to help cover. And the end result is they take that 2-for-1 trade thanks to the setup from the earlier Herald. It's just really good coordination, and I mean, if you turned around the name tags, if you said to me, London with 5,000 gold ahead of Nvision, I'd say, yeah, makes sense. But to be the other way around, this Nvision roster that, like we said, a lot of individual talent just need the opportunity to show it, and it is showing up right now. You see Alex stopping up that Herald, hoping to get it out of the way before the dragon spawns in 45 seconds. So that does mean there's going to be a bit more control on the bot side for Warden, who's already setting up some vision. But ultimately, it's going to be cleared out pretty quickly. And I just feel like at this point, London just need to avoid fighting. This Olaf is so strong. Either look for a pick with a numbers advantage or just don't opt into the team fights. The Olaf is just honestly unkillable right now at this point. With the Lulu buffing him, even some extra shielding coming out from the Rakan. You just don't want to go into that.
I feel like until Chimera gets like a Leandries or God on God starts to get some of that pen, they're not going to be able to kill him yet.
Yeah, and the thing is,
and that feels so far away.
Misfortune just is never a good tank killer. When it comes down to 80 carries, it's fine if you can sort of keep Alex locked up in your bullet time, but realistically, when he has an ultimate that makes him non-CCable, he's not going to stand in there for long. I realistically think you're right. You need Chimera to get some more AP, get that Leandries, and right now, he has a 1-stack Rod of Ages, he has a Tier of Goddess, which offers no combat stats, and it's going to be a long way before this Anivia is really relevant, and only then can they start to cut into this Olaf.
Well, 16 minutes on the clock. It's 5,000 gold separating both of these teams. Taking stock of the items, the Blade, the Ruin King, and the Cleaver just got finished up for Evan in this top lane, while Bear Tree still sitting on the components, is going to finish up his Sunfire Cape as we mention it. I mean, 80 carries pretty close in items, to be fair. God on God, even though he was the one who was getting an advantage funneled into him by the map lead, isn't actually that far ahead of Spark right now.
Well, I think part of that's down to the global gold lead, and I think you can sort of tie that into the discrepancy between the top and jungle. Everyone on the bot side of the map is relatively even in items, but when you look at the lanes that Nvision chose to play around, you have 2 items to 1 from Evan to Bear.
Oh, he might have to hold that. BB gets caught out by the Cataclysm. The bullet time's going to go. He has that Wild Growth as Raisins knocks him up with the ultimate. That's the hook by Raisins to secure the kill. London find their pick.
Yeah, unfortunate situation. A good pick coming out from London. It's a good move to make, find the numbers advantage and take out BB Muffin. But ultimately, as soon as BB Muffin flashed you as dead, that's your only way of getting out the Cataclysm. And once it's down, you just a sit and duck. The bullet time can full channel onto you. And it's good to see, though, from London. A little bit of life. Doesn't drastically change the state of the game, but shows they're willing to try and claw their way back into this slowly. It was a good move for them to sort of give up that 3rd dragon, not being in a position to contest, and ultimately, because they got that first Infernal Dragon, it's going to be a while before the Soul comes up. At minimum, it's going to be about 9 minutes before the Soul is a possibility, so London can just play it a little bit slower during that time. As long as they're not giving up the likes of a Baron, they should be okay.
Some of the things are coming down. Alex wants to go for a blue buff invade here. It's not quite up yet, but he also wants to try and play around Evan, see if they can crack open this turret. Remember, they've got that Rift Herald Warden. It's going to get spotted out. Chimera as well. Wouldn't have to flag and drag away from Alex after getting chunked. And Nvision leaning all their members towards this bot side as the blue buff spawns. So that's denied from Chimera. And Chimera is one of the strongest wave clear tools they have on the team at the moment. So him losing all that extra mana is going to really cost him.
Absolutely is. Herald's going to come down and they should be able to finish this tower out. Typically hard to break the tier 2 towers. Tier 1 can be fairly easy, sometimes trickier to take down the mid one, but Nvision doing a good job just to keep the momentum going, keep challenging these objectives. And they're going to go for a second charge here. Not really much that London can do about it, although I do think Nvision need to back away at this point.
And went for a pick is actually let's try and catch Evan out. The stun from Chimera is going to be dodged away. Warden does have that Cataclysm up now, but Nvision are out of there.
They chunked down the inhibitor tower.
Pick top lane. And
chunks down. Sorry, you go on.
I was just saying they're going to look for a pick top lane, and BB Muffin just pieced out. He pushed the lane and went, well, we're all playing bot side, so I'm not overextending bot lane.
Oh, could be in trouble here, though.
Yeah, this time maybe. He's got the speed up. Has been spotted out on the wards. The blast cone is used a little bit too late there. And
slightly sooner, like a millisecond sooner. and BB Muffin could have got knocked into a really bad situation, but it does manage to survive. Now, we have four members, strong of London leaning towards the top side. So we can see Nvision looking to answer.
They're looking for Alex. They do have that Ragnarok. He gets caught inside the Cataclysm, though. The ultimate's not there. In comes the knockout. The Wild Growth's been used. Golden God instantly cancels his ultimate. Chimera, very low HP. Still has his ulti, though. Evan looks to come in for the flank. Throws down the tank. In comes the call of the Force God, though. They're going to look to knock up multiple members to keep himself alive. Evan has to jump away. Nash is on that flank. Not going to follow suit. London disengaged from a hairy situation.
And I think London showed this is where they can win these team fights. The terrain favors them. You trap them in these tight corridors in the jungle, and you can get maximum value out of things like the bullet time and the Arctic Storm coming out from the Nvision. So it was a situation where no one could really get in range. Ultimately, this composition from Nvision is pretty short range. The only one who really can challenge a bit longer is Spark, and that's only with the Calibrum. So in that scenario, no one could get really far forwards. Even Evan, when he looked for that flank with the backline, was essentially going solo, and it's just that's a scenario where you're getting the maximum value out of your champion's kit. So we can see a situation where London can win these team fights despite the strength of this Olaf. Now, the difficult thing is that fight worked because it was in the jungle. You take that same fight in the open river, you're not necessarily going to have as good of a time.
The really sad thing as well was Chimera's Glacial Storm was not inside the Cataclysm, and it actually wasn't hitting anyone. It felt like they maybe could have done a little bit more damage, as they do find a hook here. Although Raisins is instantly going to get chunked out. Caught out inside that wall. Evan uses the Haymaker, doesn't really connect it with too many people. Has to get the taxi out with Bear Tree, and now Alex is in the middle of everyone. Let the Ragnarok
He's invincible.
taking down members left, right, and center. Baby Muffin secures another one as Bear Tree is taken down. Nash gets stunned up and chunked out, but London lose 3. And Nvision take out everyone, losing nobody.
We're gonna look towards Spyro now. Looks like we had a DC there. Actually, reconnect, so it should be okay. But ultimately, Alex isn't CCable when he pops that ultimate. And on top of that, he just does not feel killable with the Lulu buffing him up on top of it. So it's just so hard to deal with this champion who just rushes through your team and kills your AD carry. There is no real answer right now. Alex is incredibly strong, and it just feels like London do not have the tools to deal with him. They try to opt into that dragon fight. They lost it. Evan takes the dragon. On top of that, they lose the Baron. This is starting to look disastrous for the London side.
Baron Nashor and one off Soul. London, one of our strongest teams here, or at least pictured to be one of the strongest teams here, are struggling right now versus Nvision. Nvision having a fantastic game, and Alex on this Olaf is playing crazy good right now.
He's just crushing them. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even say struggling. We're just getting demolished right now. We've seen a tiny little bit of resistance. We have a 0-4-0 Bear Tree. This is a player who was seen as rookie of the split when he made his debut last year. We're seeing not very much impact from the rest of the team, and sure, we have nice farm numbers on Chimera and Golden God that may pay dividends later on. Now it just doesn't matter.
Oh, they're looking for something. Alex is going to get a lot of damage put onto the bullet time's been used. The call of the Force God. They catch him out inside that Cataclysm. Glacial Storm's still been not going out onto anyone by one, and Alex is just having to take out another as Raisins gets sniped out by Spark on the backline. 2 members of London fall again. And that was off the back of their engage under their tower.
They just don't have the damage. They don't have the tools to deal with Alex. BB Muffin held on to the wild growth that is still available. If you look across the team, the only ult used there was the Olaf. They held all the others. It's because they don't need them. They're 10,000 gold ahead now. You can see the discrepancies between the individual members, and the jungle is that big one. Top lane as well, but for now, it's just London don't have the answers. They need time, and they are not being given it.
Alex is just going to smash through this tower. He's got the Lulu to support him at the back, and Nvision. Incredible start to day 2 for them here. It's London scratching their heads. They still not got that Leandris on Chimera. It's a long way away, so the ability to cut through the likes of Alex is just not there for them, as they are just going to have to bleed out these turrets. They're doing their best to clear out and remain relevant. But you got 3 minutes until that Mountain Soul spawns up, and if you thought Alex was hard to kill before, he's going to be even harder after that.
It just makes it so much more difficult, and there's going to come a point where Alex stops being the primary carry, and you start to look towards Spark. He's got that 2-item spike. He's going to have the Lulu buffing him up in the later stages of the game. With a Mountain Shield as well, you're getting the full tank of Helios doing so much DPS. And that is where things get really tricky. Now, the shining light for London is the fact they have an Nvision. If you're going to talk about a champion who can clear waves endlessly, that is one of them. They can stall the game out longer, but ultimately, it's not like stalling the game out necessarily wins you it, because you're dealing with a lot of scaling elements, and that is the big concern for me, is I don't necessarily see a time where London can just go, okay, we're good now. I will concede that the later the game goes, the less significant this gold lead will be, because 10,000 at 25 minutes is monstrous. If they go late enough, eventually they'll start to claw up the item discrepancies, but for now, it's just pretty insane. You can see the individual scores between you. 4,000 in the top lane, over 5,000 in the jungle. Even in the mid lane, where you can see 100 CS lead almost for Chimera, there's only a 400 gold difference in favor of him. And it's clear that funneling these resources onto these frontline members who are becoming unstoppable, onto this Aphelios, who has steadily just picked up gold and is now sitting at 10,000 himself. Scary game to be in, the side of London.
Well, these ornaments are coming up, so that kind of negates a little bit of that 10k gold lead. I'd say shaves off maybe 1 to 2,000 gold, but at best, Molten Edge and the Sunfire Cape, Forge Fire Cape, sorry, for Bedry. But nobody else has any extra ornaments, so they're still pretty weak, actually, all things considered.
The big issue for me is I don't see a point where Golden God's really doing significant damage to this Olaf. The build he has right now, he just doesn't have sustained damage. His ultimate does, but ultimately difficult to consistently land that damage on someone who can't be CC'd. And until he gets some more potentially armor pen or some sustained damage in the attack speed item, he just won't do much to this Olaf. And Chimera has picked up the Haunting Guise, but not quite on that Leandry yet. That's where we can really start to cut through the Olaf, who hasn't itemized much magic resistance, in all honesty. But for now, you can see Nvision are playing this one slowly. They know all they have to do is keep London trapped inside their base. And the only area where they've given London a little bit of room to walk about, a little garden to have some time in the sun, is this topside jungle, which is just so far away from this dragon. 15 seconds until that dragon spawns. It will be sold for Nvision. It'll make the game even more difficult than it already is for London. Question is, are they even going to try and contest it? Because they're nowhere near.
They may just give it up and look to fight for the Elder Dragon. They want to get as much farm on their members as possible. Dragon is going to be melted by the side of Nvision. 27 minutes on the clock. Mountain Soul in the pocket of Nvision, alongside with that 11,000 gold lead.
So you got to bear in mind, you're getting resistances on the likes of Spark because he's going that Death Dance. Alex and Evan already pretty tanky. They're getting extra resistances. And then that flat shield on top. And I feel like for me, Mountain Soul is just such an oppressive one to go up against at this point of the game. You're already lacking damage to deal with these frontliners. It's going to just be even worse. You're already at a damage deficit, and now there's even more effective HP to cut through. I think the only thing that could have been worse is potentially an Ocean Soul, but right now, Mountain just feels oppressive, and you can see they are setting up for this Baron spawn in 20 seconds. They're going to buff Alex up, and they can't step up. They can't even try and contest him.
The teleport actually was traded out by Evan and Chimera. Chimera had to teleport away from the top lane. He got a pretty hard shove on, but Baron Nash are up in that 5 seconds time. Are London going to just concede and hope that they have the wave clear, or are they going to fight? Spark is just going to start this up on his own. Raisins is there. They do spot out Evan and Nash in that brush.
They have that cheeky ward just around the corner, not being spotted out, so they are aware of this and they're trying to push in, but it's already down so low.
They're trying to get in. Wooden has to collect close enough if he wants to go for the steal. He might just flash forward. He was unable to steal it. Gets himself caught inside the pit. Evan now is going to try and run through multiple members. The bullet time gets instantly cancelled out. The Ragnarok is on. And a massive Moonlight Vigil comes down by Spark. He's knocked up. Golden God's still alive for the moment, but he cannot do much more. Chimera is down. And London, with their backs to the wall, are bolting towards the base. But Nvision are doing the same. BB Muffin's teleported into the bot lane with a minion wave. Evan's going 1 versus 3. He will be shut down by Golden God, but in comes Spark. In comes the rest of the team. They do make it inside nice and safe. BB Muffin will crack an inhibitor though.
And he's just strong enough. They can't even challenge him with that HP. And now they're taking down the top lane inhibitor. Mid gonna go down as well. They do have spawn timers coming in, so they should be able to save the base. Potentially. Nvision for sure are gonna do a lot of damage to it.
They're going to lose at least all 3 inhibitors here, if not the game. It looks like Nvision decide the better of it and step away.
Why risk it? Why risk this game when you're so close to beating this God squad that people said were going to be the #1 team in the league? I expected it too, to be honest. And right now you are just inches away from defeating them. Why risk it? You're sitting on a ton of gold. Go reset, buy your items. You see the Rabadons picked up now by BB Muffin. You're going to see almost a GA picked up by Evan there. The Death Dance and the Zeal for Spark. Why risk it when you can spend that money, let the super minions push in while you still have the Baron buff, and then look for that easy finish? Just collect the paycheck at the end, cross the I's, dot the T, dot the I's, cross the T's, got it right at the end, and finish the game out.
Chimera trying to hold this bot lane, but Alex just going to hard shove it. It's too much for him to deal with. As Nvision's minion waves are walking into the base. It looks like it's the final buys for London. Can they hold here? This is the line in the sand. They do catch the wall onto Alex, into the hook. He just instantly popped the Ragnarok. The bullet time's already been used, but the Glacial Storm is not onto that Olaf, and Warden already chunked low. Has to jump away. Snap looks for a quickness. Gets himself a knock up onto the Eddie carry. Golden God is able to buy some space, but everybody is jumping forward. Spark misses out on the Moonlight Vision, but the first tower is going to go down. London unable to clear through the waves, unable to clear through the members, unable to sink the damage in as the Nexus goes down. 31 minutes on the clock, and Vision destroy London.
And it looked like it could have been a rough week for this Nvision lineup, but they deliver. In a game against London Esports of all teams, they come out, and it wasn't like they had a really close game where they managed just to find an opening. This was a crushing performance. Alex was an absolute monster on the Olaf throughout. They had a composition that worked well for them. They had the early components they could play around. They had the scaling elements. I was still a little bit unsure about moving the Lulu mid and having the Rakan bot lane. I still think Braun potentially could have been a good asset, but you saw Nash really show what he could do with the champion. The engage was there and it worked brilliantly. And ultimately, this team showed up.
Yeah. I mean, they really did. Chimera kind of just had a farming simulator game. He was versus the Lulu and wasn't really able to put himself into a point where he was able to do what we saw him do on that Nivea when he made his debut. BB Muffin, it wasn't about him just negating the lane. It was about him enabling Alex. And Alex's Olaf was just sick, frankly. It was so strong. And he handed the reins over as well, over to the Aphelios in the later stages of that game. And Nvision seemed to have a control and a grip on that game from start to finish.
Absolutely. There wasn't much room. There wasn't any moments where I thought, okay, London can now look to challenge. I'm always there looking for the win conditions, but it just felt very difficult. The Olaf was just such a force to be reckoned with. You saw him at the end of the game, sitting in the Cataclysm, tanking a full bullet time, doesn't even go barely below half HP. And it's like, if you can't deal with the front line, how are you supposed to deal with the Aphelios with the Lulu buffing him up, who just does so much damage, has a death stance as well? Ultimately, I just have so much praise for this lineup. I think the team worked well as a unit. I think we saw Alex and Nash working really well in tandem. BB Muffin stepped down from being, the carry he was on the Victor to support his team. And then we had Evan have a great laning phase, challenging Beartree, a former rookie of the split. And Spark was just there to clinch the win. So much praise for this team. And it's good to see that there is the confidence to go up against London and challenge them and take them down.
Well, with that, London do fall to Nvision. Nvision get their first win on the board. We're going to cut to a quick break. And when we're back, we'll actually have Evan in for an interview. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a second. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the UK League Championship. Now, we actually do have Evan standing by, the top laner for Nvision. And Evan, how are you doing, buddy, after that win?
I'm doing great. You know, after our loss yesterday, it feels really good to prove to everyone watching that we are a good team. We do what it takes to have a strong showing in the UKLC, and to just take a solid win there feels really great.
I mean, with London being a team who everybody placed as probably one of the strongest teams in the league, going up and actually getting a win there, especially in that dominant fashion, that's got to make the whole team feel just ecstatic. What was the energy in that game, especially towards the end when you kind of knew that you'd sealed the deal? What was the energy like in comms?
Well, obviously, the energy was really positive. Everyone was chuffed that we'd actually done it and we'd proven, because I think yesterday was down to quite a lot of nerves. But I guess it wasn't too explosive, our energy, because, you know, even though the game looked like it was in the bag, you don't want to get too ahead of yourself. So we stayed calm, we stayed collected. And I guess we were punching the Nexus to the death with Set. Then we got a bit hypey right to get our first win. But yeah, calm and collected and happy, I guess.
I think that was a great thing to see, the sort of control over the game. And even there was that point in the end where you took all 3 inhibitors, you took a step back, you didn't want to rush into it. My question is more about your matchup in the top lane. So Beartree made his debut last year in the UKLC and had a great performance, got sort of assigned the award of Rookie of the Split. You demolished him. How did that sort of feel to go up against him and establish that?
It feels good. I mean, I played against Beartree, I think, in the qualifiers when I was playing for Degree Sports, and I solo killed him then as well. So I think, I mean, I'm not trying to start a trash talk or anything.
Says it all.
It does feel good to go up against such an established name in the UKLC and actually perform well. Because yesterday I was against Rifty, who's another really established name in the UKLC, dominant, aggressive top laner, right? And then he kind of smashed me that lane. To have the matchup swapped around to show that I can do the same thing to another top caliber player with the same matchup makes me, have some confidence in my play. So it feels good, yeah.
Awesome. So I asked this to everyone yesterday. I didn't obviously get a chance to speak to you guys because unfortunately you lost. So I want to get a quick question of where do you kind of feel that you guys are going to be placing? Do you think you're kind of top, middle, or bottom of the pack? Where do you feel Nvision are going to be at the end of the UKLC split?
I mean, who comes into a UKL split saying, I feel like we're a bottom pack team, right? That's that's not an attitude I think that any org would look for, right? But as I've said, I guess in my other questions, I think we have what it takes to win the whole thing, I don't think that's being too confident. I think we have amazing synergy. We're going to get better. And I think the performance you saw yesterday from us was, I don't want to, throw it off. Like, they played very well, obviously, Demise. But I think that was mainly due to nerves. Our scrim's been going great. And I think this game shows you what we're capable of and what we'll look to do more as the UKLC goes forward.
So branching on from that, obviously, rough defeat yesterday. What was the sort of discussions the team had to bounce back from that for today's game?
Well, we knew. So the first 20-25 minutes of yesterday's game, we think went exactly as we wanted them to. Some of the mechanical plays weren't perfect, right? I think I should have dodged Cocoon, blah, 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 this, that, the other. But then we kind of lost control around the 25-30 minute mark. And we think we made some blunderous decisions because the nerves on the day. To bounce back, I think we knew what we'd done wrong. We took a look at our mid-game macro issues, like lane assignments, making sure everything pushed out, and then taking a look at what, bits in the back yesterday. We just looked at that in the VOD review and then brought it on in today's game.
Okay, and final question. Looking at next week, you start out the week, actually, it's the first game of the day. You're taking on Barrage Academy. Now with that win under your belt versus London, are you guys confident going into your game versus Barrage, or what's the thought process heading towards your next set of games for week 2?
I don't know too much about Barrage personally or stylistically because I'm a rookie, obviously, in the UKLC. But I think, yeah, we're really confident. I mean, we were really confident yesterday. It didn't show it, but I think, honestly, all these answers sound the same, but it's what our team atmosphere is. Our scrim has been going great. We're constantly improving, and I think the more games we play, the better performances you'll see from us.
Wait, so were you really confident today?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because if you ain't confident today, maybe that's the trick, but I guess just be confident all the time.
No, we're always confident. Just
Confidence
sometimes it doesn't pay off, I guess, right? But
Awesome. Well, congratulations on your win, Evan, and good luck to your games for next week. You're 1-on-1 on the board. And for us here at the UKLC, we're going to cut to a quick break, and then we will be back with our second matchup of the day, which will be Bulldog versus Demise. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you after this short break.